Okay, our next task is to do the same, but so that we can get our member detailed from the cache when we click on one of the users. And let's go back to VS Code and take a look at what we're working with and what we can use to get this. Now, we know that in our member cache somewhere is going to be the user object that we're trying to get to when we go and get the detailed member. And if we go down to where we've got our get member at the moment, then we don't have the easy way to go and get the member from our list of members, because now we're storing that as the response as a whole as a key value inside that member cache. And we have to go fishing inside that member cache to go and find the user that we're looking for. So first of all, let's take a look at what we're working with. And when we do get a member, let's first of all just say console.log and this .member cache .values. And let's take a look at what this actually gives us. So if I go back to the browser and I open up the terminal or console and click on the console, let's pick a user. And we open that user, and then we've got a map iterator, HTTP response, and somewhere in here is the value and then the body. And Porter is inside here. We can see we've got Porter's details inside here, and that's what we're going fishing for. But we really need this to be easier to work with than it currently is. So let's do some adjustments inside here. So let's, instead of console.log, let's say const member equals, and then we'll make this an array. So where we've got list member cache values, let's just surround this with square brackets, and then we're going to spread the values using the spread operator. And let's just console log what we get now. So I'll say console.log member, and we'll take a look at the browser again, but we need to go back to our matches first. Then we click on the member, and then we've got effectively pretty much the same kind of thing we had before, but I feel we're getting closer to accessing the user inside there, because we're going to need to loop over an array within an array, because when we go back to the matches and then we click on, let's say, page 2, and we go and pick on this user, now we've got 2 HTTP responses to look at. So we need to reduce this into effectively a single array of users if we can, so that we can go and find the user we're looking for. And the function that we're going to use to help us do that is called reduce, which we can use on array methods. So we're going to say reduce, and the reduce function can seem quite complicated, but this calls the specified callback function for all the elements in an array. So currently what we were looking at, we had 2 responses. The return value of the callback function is the accumulated result and is provided as an argument in the next call to the callback function. Okay. So let's take a look at how we can use this for our needs. So we have, first of all, we'll open parentheses, then open additional parentheses, and this is the previous value. And we're going to say that this is ARR for array. And the next element, or the next thing that we put in here, is the current value. And this is the element of the array we're working with. So I'm going to say ELEM for element. And then we add the arrow. And then we can specify that with the array, we want to concatenate, so say concat, and we're going to concatenate with the element.body, because that's what our users are going to be stored in. And then we need to give an initial value, and we're going to start with an empty array. And if we take a look at what this gives us, and we go back to the browser, and we go back to matches, and we click on a user, then this time we've got an array of our users. And if we go back and repeat what we did before, we go to the second page, so we know that we're going to have 2 responses inside our member cache, and then I pick on this user. Now we've got an array of 7 members, and that's going to be easy for us to work with. So if we go back, we can then use the find method, so we can chain on. Let's remove the console.log. I think we know where we're going with this now. And then we can use find, and we're going to find the member, or let's just use the word or the character M, because I've got member above this, or that's what I'm assigning the result of this to, and say m.username that's equal to the username we're passing in here. And we've got a complaint saying M implicitly has an any type, so we need to be more specific here, and I'm going to say m:member to give it the type of member. And we can use the same technique we were using before. If we do have the member, then we can return this as an observable, so we're going to return of the member. And that should put us back to where we were before. So let's go test. And okay, it looks like we've got an error here. And parameter P implicitly has an any type, and that's coming from the member detail component line 33. So let's go see what is on line 33 in the member detail component.ts. And sure enough, we've got an error highlighted, and sure, it doesn't know what P is, and it doesn't know what P is probably because it doesn't know what member is, and it's got member coming as potentially any from our load member method. And let's go and take a look at our member service. And okay, so the GET request is returning a type of member, but if we don't get down to this HTTP request, then this member has got a type of any, and we need to correct that. And where would be a good place to correct that? We can specify member up here is going to be a type of member, and that should resolve the issue. Now we're returning a type of member. We've set the member type there. We don't have any complaints here, and our complaint has gone from there. Okay, let's go back to the browser and see how things are looking. So let's go back to the matches first of all, and let's click on a user, and we load instantly. Back to matches, click a different user, loads instantly. Back to matches, click on page 2, click on a user, instant loading. If we go back to matches, then we see a bug. And I kind of left this bug in place intentionally because I have had questions in the past around this one about why we need it and what does it do for us. Well, let's go and take a look. In our member list components, HTML, then where we've got our pagination, we're missing something. We do not have a current page inside here. And the way this works is we need two-way binding between our pagination component template and our component. And to resolve that particular problem, then we just use ngModel, and we set it equal to the member service .paginated results .pagination and the current page. And once again, we'll just use the exclamation mark to get around the complaint there. And if we go back and try and repeat that particular issue that we saw, and I'll go on to page 2, I'll click on one of the members, I'll go back to matches, and now we stay on page 2, and everything should carry on working as it is supposed to. It's a bit weird, this one, this ngModel here, because it looks out of place, and we don't actually have, surprisingly, a current page property inside here, or a page or anything that resembles the current page. It's just surfaced as ngModel for that functionality, but it does do the job that we need it to do, and now we have that in place as well. And there's one more thing I want to take a look at before we go, because supposing I was, let's see, I was looking at a group of users from 18 to 35, let's say, and I apply the filters, but then I go to the messages and do whatever with messages, but then go back, then it looks a bit weird because my filters have not been remembered, but the query has been, so our filters don't match what we see inside here. So that could be a bit confusing, and we'll take a look at how we can remember our filters next.